Hey guys, welcome back to my channel today. To those of you who are coming on my channel for the first time, welcome. I hope you find the content entertaining enough to keep you here in this little community. And to those of you who are returning subscribers, thank you so much for your continued support. It is very much appreciated. All right guys, so today I wanted to do something called scent alikes. It's nothing new. It's just comparing fragrances that smell very similar to each other. So, I think I have about 10 fragrances here in pairs. And what I've tried to do is, as much as possible, study these fragrances, use them in the course of the day, study the notes, and just observe what they dry down into, observe how the scent interacts with my skin chemistry, and basically curate some fragrances that I think are, I won't say 100% dupes of each other, but I would say they are very similar in terms of the note profile, in terms of, how the scent projects, in terms of the fragrance and just the overall aura of the perfume. So that's what this video is going to be about. Without further ado, I think we should start. And I'm starting with the first two that I think are the most similar in terms of their performance, the notes and everything. All right, let me just position this very well so you can see. All right, guys, so we have Giorgio Armani C, and this is the C Intense. And then we have Romantic. Now, Romantic is a bit of a cheapie. It's not a very expensive perfume. It's by Jean Arthur. I think that's the name of the owner of the fragrance. Her name. It was designed by Jean, or I think it's Jean Arthur. Let me not butcher the name, but so it's a bit of a lower end perfume. It's not as pricey as Giorgio Armani C, which is obviously more in the higher end of the spectrum when it comes to designer fragrances. However, these two perfumes are almost the exact same thing. If you ask me, they're 90% similar in terms of how they smell and all of that. But I'll start by talking through the note structure. So for Romantic, this one, sorry about the cover, it was actually given to us as a token, where I usually buy my perfumes. So I think I'd bought so many and they gave me this one. So it didn't come with the cover. Apparently it's a tester bottle. So please just bear with me on that one. So I'll go through the notes, right? So Romantic is basically citrusy at the onset. So it starts with this refreshing, citrusy, fruity opening, and then it develops into the floral. So you've got some freesia, it's got quite a bit of blackcurrant, some orange blossom, bergamot in the opening. And then, oh no, not orange blossom, sorry. It's got blackcurrant blossom and some bergamot in the opening. So it's very citrusy and fruity in the opening. And then as it starts to develop, it goes into the floral. So some rose and freesia. And then it further develops into a warm, earthy patchouli. So there's some patchouli grounding this fragrance as well. And then you have some vanilla and some musk. And then there's also some tonka bean to warm the scent as well. So that's the note structure for Romantic. Now for Giorgio Armani C, same thing. It starts with blackcurrant, but then it has something called cassia. Then there's freesia and there's mandarin orange. So you see a similar note profile at the beginning that has very heavy on the blackcurrant, and you get it the first time you spray, and then it tapers into some florals, same as Romantic. So it's got some rose, it's got some neroli, it's got something called artemisia, and then it has vanilla, some patchouli as well, and some woody notes. So you can see that the top, mid, and bottom notes are very similar in terms of the note profile. The only difference is, I think, the freesia in the Giorgio Armani C. You also have some bergamot there as well, which is not in romantic. But the main notes, which is the black currant, the vanilla, the bit of patchouli, the rose, all those things you can see. Oh, actually, they both have freesia apparently. So you can see that the note profile is so similar. And these two perfumes are the exact same thing. In fact, when I smelled romantic, I immediately, my mind went to Giorgio Armani C. The exact same thing, honestly. And then when I smelled it, I went to do some research and I found out that it was already common knowledge. I thought I was discovering something new, but apparently not. So yeah, these two are definitely, it's either one or the other. They do project very well. I dare say they both have the same longevity, if I remember correctly. I know that Giorgio Armani C is beast mode in terms of longevity. It stays, in fact, it lasts the whole day on my skin. I also think Romantic did the same as well. I can't really remember how long it lasted, but both of them, same note profile. If you have one, quite frankly, it will suffice. If you don't want to spend so much money buying C, I believe this is about a quarter of the price of C, so you'll be fine with either of them. So that's my first set of perfume comparisons for the day. Right, so the next set is, let me put this back. Right, so the next set is Black Opium and Dior Poison Girl. Right. These two are another. I there's something so fascinating about discovering, scents that are so similar. It wasn't something that I consciously did before, but as I started to learn more about fragrances, as I started to review more fragrances, it's really exciting when you find two fragrances that are almost complete replicas of one another. Of each other. It's very exciting, or at least to me it's exciting. So Black Opium, Dior Poison Girl, for me, these two are replicas of each other in some way. So again, I'll go through the notes and then I'll tell you what I think. So for Black Opium, this has pear, it has pink pepper, it has orange blossom, coffee, jasmine, the bitter almond, licorice, vanilla, patchouli, cedar, cashmere wood. So obviously you can see that it's starting off a bit spicy, fruity with the pink pepper and the pear, and the orange blossom as well. And then as it dries down, it starts to get a bit more gourmandish, because then you have the coffee, you have the bitter almond, and then you have the very interesting notes of licorice. I think licorice gives it a very interesting feeling, in the middle of the dry down. And then of course you have your cashmere wood and everything that then makes it a bit sexy and somewhat musky, woody. Not musky, but a bit woody at the end. So that's Black Opium for you. You then have Dior Poison Girl, which starts off very citrusy. Citrusy because it's got bitter orange and lemon at the opening, and then it's got damask rose, orange blossom again, vanilla, almond, tonka bean, sandalwood, cashmere, and heliotrope. So you can see similar notes in terms of the patchouli, No, it doesn't have patchouli, sorry. You can see some similar notes in terms of the almond. And the almond in these two fragrances is one of the notes that really projects the most, if you ask me. So you have that that cashmere note as well. You have the almond note as well. You have, that citrusy opening with the orange blossom in Black Opium and then bitter orange in Poison Girl. These two perfumes smell the same to me. So they're sweet, they're warm, they're very cozy. They start off very bright, but very, very, very quickly dry down into this very warm, feminine, cozy scent. They have, well, I think the longevity for on Dior Poison Girl, it has better longevity than Black Opium EDP on me and in my opinion, but both of them smell the exact same way. They give me the same vibes. They just have this very comforting, sexy, inviting, warm feeling. Definitely good for maybe a colder day, but I see no reason why it can't be worn when it's warm, but they just, because of the cozy feeling, it feels like it will work very well when the weather is a bit cooler. So yeah, Black Opium and Dior Poison Girl, twins, in my opinion. Guys, my number 3, let's go. So we have Prada, Dolce & Gabbana, The Only One. Those are my third batch of fragrances that smell alike. Very beautiful bottles. I love these two bottles. These two perfumes. So if I compare them to the first 2 sets of perfumes I reviewed, I won't really say they are that similar, but I think it's more in the vibe that it gives. So it's less about the similarity of the notes for these two. It's more around the vibe that it gives off, and I'll tell you why. Let's go through the note structure for both of them. So for Dolce & Gabbana, The Only One, you have some violet, orange, and bergamot at the opening. Again, quite citrusy. The middle has coffee, pear, so it gets quite gourmandish in the middle. So you have coffee, pear, and then you have rose, orange blossom, iris, and then at the end you have caramel, vanilla, patchouli. So it's a very interesting development in terms of the notes, because it starts off, like I said, very citrusy. In the middle you then have the coffee, the pear, the rose, so it's floral, then it's warmed up by the coffee, and then it's sweetened by the pear, because pear can be very sweet as a note. And then at the end you then have caramel, which is even sweeter, and you have vanilla and patchouli, and the patchouli just gives it a more earthy tone. So all in all, this obviously dries down into a very sophisticated, luxurious, gourmandish, but not overly sweet fragrance. That's Dolce & Gabbana, The Only One. It comes off so sophisticated. Now for Prada La Femme, it starts off with ylang ylang and frangipani, so very floral in the opening. It's got some tuberose, jasmine, and orange blossom as well, and then at the end it's got patchouli, vanilla, iris, and vetiver. So in the two perfumes, I guess what they have in common is really the vanilla and the patchouli, but this Prada La Femme is very, in the dry down, it gives off a very creamy, sophisticated, also luxurious feel as it dries down. It's like creamy floral, if that is a thing, so it's not in your face. It almost becomes like a skin scent, but those around you will smell it, but it's not in an obnoxious way. So both of them have that thing where they dry down very slowly. I feel like they even almost remain linear in terms of the fact that they're blended so well that what you start with somehow doesn't change too much in the dry down. That's what I feel about these two scents. So like I think I mentioned this in a prior review that these two scents give me, that very sophisticated, like old money vibe type of thing. Those ladies you'd see in Dynasty, in Dallas, those very classy, rich, old money vibes. That's what these two perfumes give me. And they are extremely versatile. So they would work for the office, they would work for like a date night. If you ask me, if you just want to smell sophisticated, you don't want to do any girly, overly floral scent, these two perfumes, in my opinion, will give you that vibe. So like I said, they're not necessarily dupes of each other. They're not necessarily overly similar in terms of the note profile, but they give off a very feminine, sophisticated vibe, and you can't go wrong with these two. So I'll move on to I think this is number 3. Yes, this is number 3. Number 4, in terms of similarity, these two are actually from the same, they're both from Lancome anyways, so they are the same brand. So we've got Lancome Idole. Unfortunately, this one doesn't stand, so I have to lean it against that. And then this is Trésor Midnight Rose, both Lancome fragrances. These two are rose bombs, essentially. They're rosy, they're musky, but I'll go into the details of the notes just to give us a sense of the differences and the similarities. So for Lancome Idole, this is more woody, musky rose. You have some bitter and mandarin orange. You have some Turkish rose, some jasmine, some musk, some patchouli, cedar, sandalwood. So you can see that this is purely rosy, purely musky, floral, very light. It's a very light, sensual, not in your face scent. Quite long lasting. So the first time I reviewed it, I didn't have too many good things to say about it, but I've tried to use it. So what I did was I sprayed it overnight. I sprayed it to bed. And by the time I woke up, this thing was still on me, was lingering. So I don't know, it might be one of those perfumes that, if you use it on a hot day and maybe when it mixes with sweat, perhaps that changes how it projects on the skin or something. But when I sprayed it at night and I woke up in the morning, oh my God, it developed so well. And I honestly loved the dry down. So I think I might be changing my mind about Lancome Idole actually. But this is a rose, sensual, quiet, but very quietly sexy, sensual fragrance. Now for Trésor Midnight Rose, this starts off with raspberry and rose. So for this one, it's a bit more tart in the beginning because, there's that raspberry with the rose and pink pepper. So it's a bit spicy, it's a bit tart, it's a little rosy at the beginning. And then you now have some jasmine, you have vanilla, musk, and cedar, as it develops. So again, you've got that musky, vanillic thing going on as it dries down. But I would say that for Midnight Rose, it's almost like it smells, how would I put it? It's almost like they're trying to live up to the name. So it smells a bit darker than Idole. So Idole smells like, Idole has a brighter, and this is Idole Intense, by the way. So it's got a brighter, rosy smell, while the Trésor Midnight Rose is a little darker, a little muskier, a little more mysterious than the Idol. That's what I think. But both of them, obviously, they're big on the rose. They're very light, where they don't offend anyone. You're not going to offend anybody with these scents. They're very good for office wear, but you could also wear them on a date. But both similar scent note profiles, similar vibes, very good for understated elegance, if you ask me, or if you're trying to exude that sort of understated elegance. You smell nice, but you're not in anybody's face with your fragrance. This is what you need. So Trésor and Idol, in my opinion, scent alikes. All right, guys, so I think we have the last set of perfumes now. This one is a bit of an oldie, and I'm very much excited to talk about it. All right, let's go. So my last set of fragrances, we have, okay, this doesn't even have anything. Okay, it's got the name written on the cap. So this is Ralph Lauren Romance, and this is Chanel Chance. I call it Chance because I think that's the French way to pronounce it. Please correct me if I'm wrong. All right, guys. Now, Ralph Lauren Romance is an oldie. I mean, this perfume, I must have been, I remember it from the 90s, like the late 90s, if I remember correctly. It's not a new fragrance at all. So I think it's undergone multiple reformulations and stuff like that. But this fragrance, in my opinion, is evergreen. It would always remain relevant. I love it. It's fantastic. A friend of mine actually put me onto this. I remember anytime I would travel, she would ask me, if I were going to buy perfumes for her, I should buy this one. And she made this her signature scent and used it for so many years. So I really love it. It reminds me of my friend. Chanel Chance, I mean, this one from the house of Chanel, it's another one that I think I'm trying to understand. I think that as I'm evolving, on my fragrance journey, I'm also I'm trying to be a lot more patient with the fragrances. So if you notice my first few reviews, I was very, when I don't like a particular fragrance, I'll just be like, you know what, I don't like this, it's not that. But I'm learning that, it's a bit nuanced, some of these fragrances, the way the notes evolve, the fact that, we pick up different notes actually, depending even on the weather. So the way it would smell on a cold day might not be the way it projects on a hot day, those kinds of things. So now I'm understanding the nuances, and I think that if I did a review in the next 6 months, it's possible that some of the fragrances I said I didn't like, I might have changed my mind by then. So I'm just putting it out there to say that as you evolve in your fragrance journey, if you are on one, you realize that there are nuances to the fragrances, and that sometimes it just takes understanding a fragrance in a more in-depth manner to really appreciate what it's about. All right, that being said, guys, these two fragrances remind me of each other. So Ralph Lauren Romance, like I said, is an oldie. Chanel Chance is one of the newer Chanel formulations. Now, for Chanel, it's musky, there's patchouli, it's woody, there's some vanilla, spicy. What you get in the opening is that pink pepper, jasmine, iris. You've got patchouli, you've got musk, you've got vanilla, all of that in Chance. So it's a very light, airy, fresh fragrance. This is your very, very good candidate for a signature scent, non-offensive, non-complex, just I would say very linear, if you ask me. Linear, safe, some people find it sophisticated. I'm yet to get to that point, but very good for work, good for, it just gives understated, this fragrance, understated, but understated in my opinion. I think that's where it ends. Now, Ralph Lauren Romance gives off the same vibe. Now, the notes here are rose, chamomile, grape, lemon. So obviously a very fruity opening as well. Then in the middle, you've got some freesia, lily, lotus, white violet. So a whole lot of florals in the middle. And then you also have the white musk, the patchouli, oak moss, and exotic woods. And that's where, the similarities are in that dry down with the musk and the vanilla and all of that. Now, are these two fragrances the exact same thing? Maybe not, but to be honest, they totally, in fact, I think I need to spray to just get vibe. So guys, Chanel Chance, Ralph Lauren Romance, these two, let's just smell them very briefly. They are fantastic. I feel like we have one, to be honest. They're the same, they're very similar in terms of how they smell, in terms of the aura, in terms of just how fresh and fresh floral, they're both fresh florals, so you can't go wrong with either of them. All right, guys, so we have come to the end of today's video. I hope you enjoyed my video today. I really enjoyed doing this. I enjoyed creating this for you guys. I had a very nice time just, looking through my collection and trying to identify those perfumes that smell alike, those fragrances that, give the same vibe and aura. And so I really, really, really hope you enjoyed this. Till we see again on another video, guys, please, once again, for those of you who watch my videos, please subscribe, please share with your friends, comment, like, so that we can, create more videos for you. Thank you so much for watching this one, and hopefully I see you on my next video. Have a lovely day ahead. Bye.